Joey, thanks for coming on, mate.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always a bit of fun jumping on these things, and I appreciate being here.
Look, man, you went from creating TikToks to now being on national TV. Tell me about how it all started.
Yeah, well, I acting was always my thing, and that's what I always wanted to do since I was probably like 15. I had the idea that that's what I wanted to do, and I was in school, so I wasn't really doing any acting courses then as such. Maybe just a workshop here and there of a weekend, but finished school in 2018, 2019 rolls around and this TikTok thing's going, and I thought it was a good way to, act and stay creative, and I got into it, and it turned out to be pretty good. So it wasn't like a transition sort of thing. It was always like acting was the number one, and that was on the back foot, the TikTok stuff, but it just, turned out that TikTok went big before before the acting went big, but I'm in a good position now, and it's very, very good.
Did you ever imagine it would turn into what it has today?
No, I didn't, but, once you started posting, my girlfriend started posting now, and, like, you realize how, like, addictive it can become, and you just kinda keep doing it, and, now she's posting every couple of days, but, like, that's what it was like at the start for me as well. It was just like, you sort of like seeing, numbers come through in terms of likes, and it kinda gets a little bit addictive, and then when a video doesn't go well, it's you're like flat as, but it's I didn't expect to do what it did, but I'm very grateful in a way that it did what it did.
Acting was something that you've always been interested in. What actually inspired you to start posting or your first piece of content online on TikTok?
What inspired me? It's a good question. I remember at that time, it was all, like Addison Rae and those type of people that were taking that by storm. And so going onto TikTok was always weird because, those people like Addison and Charlie D'Amelio, I think that's her name, they were doing all the dancing. But when I downloaded, I came across some bloke who was doing kind of like a Carl Barron. How you could do like the voiceovers?
Yeah,
So there'd be a Carl Barron video and you can, act it out by, using the
a bit of
sound.
a lip
And I
sync
saw
sort of
some.
thing.
Correct. Yeah, correct. A lip sync, that's it. And yeah, I saw this bloke and it was absolute pisser. So then I did one and I showed mum and my brother and they pissed themselves laughing. And I was just like, just post it. And I did, and it just kind of went from there. So I kept doing the Carl stuff and then eventually went into my own sort of thing.
Did that confidence come before you posted or because you posted? Did it come after because you got that positive sort of feedback loop?
Uh Probably after. It was it's always pretty nerve-wracking to put yourself out there, but then, when you see people enjoy it, you just kind of put that worry on the back foot and just keep going with it.
What was the sort of initial response to your content? Did you ever experience any sort of negative backlash from posting anything?
Not early days. The first probably negative comment I saw was actually probably like 3 months into me posting, and it was only like because it was a Carl Barron video that I did, and it was some person just said, "Make your own content," or something like that, but water off a duck's back. Actually, it wasn't water off a duck's back at the time, but it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, so how have you kind of changed your approach to those negative comments? You just said it wasn't water off a duck's back. How have you kind of navigated and built a little bit more of a shell to those sort of comments?
Um, Look, I think one of the good sayings is no one's ever like your haters not doing, what you're doing. Do you know that saying?
Yeah, no one's ever gonna punch down.
Correct. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. There's never going to be a hater doing better than you, and it's just if they want to spend time on their day putting that message in, then it's pretty sad, and you kind of learn that. But it's sort of like repetition in a way. You keep getting them, and eventually you just become a bit thicker and thicker skinned. So that's pretty much how that happened. But look, I'd be lying to say if it sometimes face to face, you might get that smart ass comment. Like if I'm walking in the street, someone, might make a smart ass comment. They still sort of get to me a little bit, because I want to please everyone. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, but that can affect me still. But, you know, I've got a good support system around me, and, it's not a massive issue, but it can take its toll. But you just with the support I have, it's great. And, there's a lot of help with that. So yeah, I'm definitely getting better at it though, for sure.
I have a real curiosity into why strangers' opinions online feel so personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
And
it's just such a weird sort of thing. I've had this discussion with a few people, but analogy I like to use is if you're running a marathon, there's 95 people cheering for you, but then there's 5 people saying, you're not very good at running. You're just going to ignore those 5 people. But for some reason, when it's online, you're just so gravitated towards those 5 comments.
it's crazy. A mate of mine who you'd probably know, Louis Phillips.
I've heard the name, yes.
Do you know? Yeah, so he does running content, and the poor bloke had professional runners calling him out,
Mm,
for doing what he was doing. It's like, but hang on, he's making the world a better place by getting people, up and
yes.
about and
Louis,
going
Louis,
running.
he's just started his own running company, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So, I look at something like that, and I somewhat just think it's comes from a place of jealousy and maybe their own insecurity a little bit. But you're right, we do tend to look at those comments and look at them very negative, and they stick. But you've as I said before in that last question, you've just sort of get used to it and your skin becomes a bit thicker, but you definitely do get attached to it.
With Louis' situation, it's a weird one because we've just said people aren't going to punch down, but in the same way, people who are probably more elite in his field are saying negative things. But I think that almost comes from a point of jealousy because he's cashing in on sort of the running market and he's putting himself out there in the running market. And I think you said it earlier, perhaps just a little bit of jealousy as well.
I mean, I think so because, they would love to do what he's doing, which is a passion, and it's a passion for a professional, but they're not doing it. And Louis not a professional, but he's making money. So I think people like that who are giving him hate just want to be in his position. I really do think that.
Mm. When your TikToks and your social media began to blow up, did you ever feel a little bit of imposter syndrome putting yourself out there online and so many people loving your content and loving you as a person?
Um, Not really. It was just it's one of the pleasing things is with this thing that I do is you don't realize how many people it helps. And then so, you don't realize that with some of the mental health content I do, that can be quite emotional for some. And so to make someone laugh or to make them cry in a good way, in a way that knowing they're not alone, it's pretty special. And you don't realize it until people come up to you and say it. And when they do, it's worth it, 100%.
I think social media, we sometimes get so caught up on the negative side of social media, but you just brought up a beautiful point there of it can really help people. And as we've become more aware of these mental health conditions and what people are going through, I think it is a real opportunity to have an impact on someone, a real positive impact.
Definitely, definitely.
How's your transition been from sort of making TikToks in your own house, in your own sort of community, to now recording things for TV?
Yeah, it's funny because my siblings live in Melbourne
Mm.
and they're down here for the summer, and they've got kids. So I've got 2 nephews and 1 niece, and the house is so loud at the moment, so I can't even do content. But it's refreshing when you're on a set and there's professionals and you're just in there to do what you do at home in a sort of a different way. But it's just crazy how quick, when I did Neighbours, how quick and fast paced it was and just professional, and it was just so much fun. But, sometimes admittedly, filming in your own house in your own time is pretty good too.
Take me back a second. So you obviously are now recording for TV. How did that transition happen? Did someone approach you, or did you kind of reach out to someone else to get these opportunities?
I Nah, so I think I've got to credit a lot to TikTok and being noticed in that way. So I did a audition for a Chemist Warehouse ad, which I ended up getting. And then the director, Carl, who's a great man, he has a mate who was shooting a tradie, sort of like a commercial. And the director from the Chemist Warehouse ad, Carl, put me on to this bloke, Paddy. And Paddy, who I'm very close with now, was on Neighbours for 20 years, won a Logie, and he connected me with his agent, his acting agent, who he's been with forever. And I was lucky enough to get a meeting with them and sign with them on the day. So the connection thing is massive, and it's credit a lot to it because of TikTok. But Paddy knew me from TikTok, and that's kind of how it all began with the agent that I signed with.
How hard is acting for people that want to get into it or want to give it a crack? How would you describe it to someone?
Are you willing to be unemployed for a long time?
Yeah.
Are you willing to put all eggs in one basket, not have a plan B, not have a backup plan, and just go all out? And it's all or nothing because you can't half-ass it. If you want a career, you have to lock in, and you just work your backside off and make content. Honest, like that's as I said, that connected me to so many people, and it put me on sets. And you've just like if you're passionate, you've got to do stuff that's outside your comfort zone. And a lot of actors might be like, "Oh, I don't want to do TikTok. Like it's not me." It's not me either. But you're a creative person, so play to your strengths.
I'm about three quarters of the way through Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights.
How good
And
is it?
oh man, you've pretty much you've explained it there in a sentence of putting all of your eggs in one basket. I mean, for him, who's a extremely successful actor, and I'm sure you're going to have a fantastic career as well. And hopefully, you write a book and I get to read that one day. But he was sleeping on couches. He was kind of pleading where he could just to get any sort of role. But what really interests me about Matthew McConaughey was he had this natural kind of charm around his acting. And when he actually went to acting school, he felt like it impacted his ability a little bit to actually be himself on set. Do you have any of that sort of similar kind of thing where you've tried taking a different approach and you felt like it's taken away from your own personal flair?
Yeah, definitely. I relate to that 100%. I have always been in the opinion as an actor that I think you will get cast in a role where you are somewhat that character in a way. You have the traits, you relate to them. I see in a way like when you're at acting school, you're sort of not yourself, and there's this sort of competition with acting, like it's because and that's a thing. You're all auditioning for this one role, but I think you have to be yourself because if if you are yourself, as I said, you can play the role that sort of suits you. And even in terms of when you're meeting, directors and all that sort of stuff, they don't want a fake person. They want you for you. And if it's good for them, then it pays off. If that sort of makes sense and answers your question.
Yeah, 100%. I think you can see that in movies where, we've used Matthew McConaughey as an example. Relatively, each movie, it's a similar style of character, right?
Correct.
It's Matthew McConaughey and it's a slightly different sort of alteration of himself. You see it again with someone like Ryan Reynolds or Dwayne The Rock Johnson who have these repeated sort of movies. And some people say it's a little bit repetitive, but it's because it's them and they encapsulate the character better, I suppose.
That's right. And it's obviously not all of you, and it's not, if I'm playing, let's say, a wrestler, for example, in a movie, like obviously I'm not fully him, but if there's parts of me that relate to him, then that works for you in a way.
Obviously, going from TikTok where you can pretty much see the numbers straight away, whether it's going to blow up or not, how do you define success then compared to now when you're kind of recording and putting something into a TV series?
Good question. Um, yeah. Well, you don't know really. I mean, with TikTok, it's all in your control, and you can see the numbers and what they're going to do. But for something like acting, it's not like you can go on your phone and see the numbers and how well it's received. So it's very, very different in that case. But yeah, obviously with your TikTok, you can see that, whether it's going to go big, and TV, you don't know unless you hear something. But you just put your best foot forward and you sort of hope for the best, I reckon.
So I guess kind of in the early stages, you were comparing high numbers to now just putting on the best performance that you can.
100%. Yeah. And that, like, I think that should be for everyone. It's perform the best you can in whatever thing you do.
Mm,
And if the numbers aren't great, well, then you go, did my best.
absolutely. I think that's any aspect of life, isn't it? Being able to sort of
100%.
I read a quote the other day, which is fantastic. It was learn from the moment and then leave the moment in the past. You know,
Learn from the moment and then leave the moment in the past. That is very good. Love it.
yeah. So don't carry the moment with you, but carry the lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't carry the moment. And it was funny when I did Neighbours, you're on such a high and you post about it and everyone sees it. But what you learn is nothing changes.
Uh,
Nothing changes. But a mate said to me, it's literally the most magical part about it is the journey to actually getting there.
yeah.
And it's just a nutshell, because you kind of go like, oh, life's going to be, different now. And it's not. It's a moment, and it was a great moment, but it's the journey getting there and all the hard work you've done in the past. And that's very rewarding. I think that's the most rewarding thing. Is
We look at things in the future and think that they're going to make us happy when we've already achieved things that we said would make us happier.
that a quote?
It is a quote, yes.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing looking at life through that lens, sort of, retrospectively in the past, because I can completely relate to that. We've had a few conversations before getting on today, but I have a bachelor's and a master's degree, and the way that that kind of played out for me was I started a bachelor's degree, and I went, you know what, when I get a bachelor's degree, I'm going to be so educated, I'm going to be so ready for life. It's just going to come to me on that day when I receive that piece of paper. And then you get there with that piece of paper and you hold it in your hands and you go, cool, I did it, but I don't feel any different. So then I went, oh, well, okay, well, I've got to go get a master's degree. I'll become so educated then and, whatever. And you keep pushing this further and further away. And I actually have my graduation ceremony for my master's in about a month. But
Huge.
I've already done it, and I've already sort of gotten the email saying I passed everything, and you kind of sit there and read that email and you go, cool, like
Oh, yeah,
that was it. But you're right, it's the lessons that you've learned along the way. Like I've made fantastic friendships that will probably last me for the rest of my life. Like I'm seeing my uni mates tomorrow night, and it's those sort of things that you kind of are really appreciative of, and not so much the actual thing that you gained.
definitely. And I think unfortunately, due to, the way the world's moving, I don't think we are ever happy with where we currently are. We
Mm.
always want more, and then we get more, and guess what? Nothing's changed. So
Do you
we're
think that?
never actually going.
No, you go.
Oh no, I was just like, that's pretty much it. But we just need to learn that the present is great, and you got to live it. But we're so, influenced by what other people are doing that we want to go there. And then when we go there, we want to go to the next thing. And we're never happy that we were actually where we wanted to be. Not a bad thing, because, you're never comfortable with where you are and you always want to be somewhere more. But, you by doing that, life's just flying past you, and you're not that happy, I reckon.
I think if you're a highly driven person and highly successful, you may be, or highly driven person, you may be extremely successful, but you may never truly be happy with where you are, I think.
And, you know, I did you listen to Chris Hemsworth's podcast with Jay Shetty?
I haven't, no.
He pretty much said that a lot of actors, and whilst the life looks great, you know, nice house, nice car, nice life, what goes on inside their head is it's not great because they've just been so exposed. You can't really go anywhere and they're not happy.
Mm.
From the outside, we go, holy crap, how good would that life be? It's not.
What I was going to say earlier, but you brought it up perfectly, was just that comparison of other people. Like you just said, I mean, we're looking at Chris Hemsworth and we're going, what a life. You know, look at the movies he's been in, look at the money, everything like that. But he has his own issues, 100%.
100%.
Same as yourself and myself and anybody listening or anybody out there. Everyone's got their own thing and everyone's comparing to one another. I mean, I look at you and you're on Neighbours, you know, fantastic. But then you may look at the next person, you go,
Mm.
geez, how good would that be?
And I do. I do. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm,
It really is. You know, I I do Neighbours, and then I see a friend or someone else on a show that I'd love to be part of, and I completely forget about Neighbours and how good it was to actually be on a show that was so big for so many years. But I don't take that in because I'm not complacent with where I am currently. I want to be that next best thing.
100%. I think it's just that journey as well. I mean, I look at doctors of my field and I go, wow, what a great thing to be a doctor and that intelligent within the field. But, you know, they probably look back at me and go, geez, like I remember sort of studying and hanging out with mates and going out and having a fantastic time. Now I'm stuck in a clinic.
That's right. And that's the thing with school. Whilst you were saying with your masters, whilst you're there at the time and it's boring and you want to finish school or finish uni, it's about, you know, what you take with you, the friends, and that's the one thing I miss about school. I was speaking to a bloke last night and I'm just like, I really miss school for that reason. And now, you know, like the doctor is sitting in the clinic. It's like it's just crazy.
I guess before all of that comes, I guess comparison kind of plays into this as well. But what sort of advice would you give to someone who wants to start putting themselves out there, start posting online, making content, but is a bit scared of that judgment or what people are going to say about you?
The cliche thing for me to say was don't care what people think, but I would be lying to myself because, you know, I somewhat do. But what would I say for people that want to put themselves out there? One of the sayings, you're on your deathbed, you've got all your ghosts around you saying, you know, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And it's regret. And I always bring myself to that thought of, you know, life's short and there will be a time, you know, where it's my last day here and I do not want to have a regret.
Mm.
You just do it. Like it's Nike said it perfectly, just do it.
It's that contemplation of what's worse, being judged or never even starting to find out what it could have been.
Well, that's right. You know, and like it's crazy because life is so short and eventually no one's even going to remember you. You're going to be erased from everything once you're gone.
I think it's usually around 3 generations, no one's ever going to remember your name.
That's right. I saw that. I think I saw a video. That's right.
Mm.
So, you know what? You you're a long time dead. So just give it a crack and if you want to do it, just do it. But I get it. I get it's hard to put yourself out there and it really is ripping the band-aid off. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You tried.
I think as long as you stick with whatever you're going after long enough, everyone eventually comes around to just accepting that's what you do and that's now the norm.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. That's right. Definitely.
You mentioned showing your TikToks to your family earlier and them having a great laugh at it and really enjoying your content. How was your social circles when you first started and even now? How important were they?
Yeah, it was. I often say to people that I don't worry as much about what the public says. I worry about what my friends and my family say or think. And I remember during school, I was always sort of worried in my head constantly about what people thought of me, and that sort of held me back from doing what I wanted to do. But when I started doing what I wanted to do, and that was playing the creative game, you learn that your friends actually and your family love it because it's you. And it's, it's obviously your mates might take the piss, but they know it's a passion, and people what people don't realize is your friends want you to do well. Those circles when I started were I remember a mate said like, "Mate, this is unreal what you're doing." And, I was at school probably part of a group where doing school plays or posting content, not really that content was much of a thing then, but it wasn't, like it wasn't not respectable, but like had I just done it, one of my biggest regrets is not doing plays at school purely because I was worried about what people would think. But then when I started doing TikTok and my friends actually loved it, then you kind of go, well, what was I worried about in the first place?
School for young people listening, I mean, because it's such a closed environment and you see those people repetitively every single day, I think their opinions matter slightly more than what they should. And then as soon as you leave that sort of high school space and you really have your closest mates, I think that's a great place to be. Like you should put yourself out there in high school and do what you want to do because you have to realize that when you graduate, you're not going to see 99% of these people again.
That's it. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like you don't see them and everyone's doing their own thing that they're not even really thinking about you. So that's hit the nail on the head.
One of my closest mates, actually, he said to me the other day, we were going for a run, and he brought up the idea. He said, "Man, like I think I'm going to start posting some content." And I went, "What do you mean?" And he went, "Well, I'm just going to start posting sort of day in the lives and everything like that." And I could tell that he was really testing the water with me to see what my response would be.
Yeah.
And dude, like, I just turned to him, I said, "Dude, that's awesome. Like, post as much as you can, post whatever you want." He's like, "Are you happy being in it?" I'm like, "Dude, I'd love to be a part of whatever you're trying to do." And I think it's really important to nourish and, really take care of those relationships in your life because those are the ones that, are gonna have your back and gonna support you in what you do. And realistically, probably similar to you, I don't know whether you've had this experience of posting something and you go, I don't care what people think, but then, someone close to you kind of says, mate, I don't think that was the one. That's really important to have as well.
Yeah. I certainly agree with that. If it's warranted, if they say maybe that's not the one, I can see it from either a point of view of genuine care or, because when, if someone says that to me, it's sort of a bit of a kick in the guts, but you do know it's from a place of genuine care. But then on the other scale, you might just have a mate who has that sort of jealousy because he's not doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And that's awesome to hear about you, mate. And what people don't realize is that the world's changing so much faster than we can actually sort of respond. So social media has become a massive outlet to, as you said, businesses, fitness, creative, and it's actually allowed so many people who were in their shell to go, you know what, stuff it. It's a great tool what we have, and people want to do the old sort of way where they just go quietly about it, which is great, and I respect that. But there's a tool that everyone can use, and by God, does it work?
I think it's not being ashamed of putting yourself out there because I was literally having this conversation with one of my other guests the other day, Lockie Kennett, about posting yourself online. I remember being in high school and putting some things online, and some people would say a few things that probably weren't the nicest of things. But now I'm a couple years out of high school, whatever. I look on TikTok, and those are the exact same people now trying to post things online and do things with their own platform, which is fantastic to see. But it just shows you how things can shift so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, throwing stones from glass houses.
Mm, yeah.
It's, and, you know, and that's great that they are doing that, but, it's funny when you cop a bit of smack from them and then they end up doing it.
What's one lesson that you've learnt recently, sort of in your transitional period from TikTok to TV, that you could share with others right now? What's a good piece of advice for people out there trying to sort of be a bit more like you?
Transition from social to acting.
Yeah, well, from that, or even just someone hoping to put themselves online but don't have that courage yet.
Yeah, well, it's sort of similar to a question earlier, but it's just I don't know, it's just like you just do it because as I said, it's such a tool you can use. And if you're passionate about what you do and what you want to do, then you use the tools that work. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't shit myself when I did start, but it's just ripping off a band-aid. And once you rip it off, it's pretty beautiful on the other side.
Something I've heard about with a lot of people becoming very successful, and you can even relate this to people within high school or university, gaining their degrees. They have a massive confidence curve that kind of spikes at some point, and then eventually it kind of comes back down. Have you experienced that at all, where sometimes you think maybe you've gone too big for your boots and then you've experienced a little bit of humility to come back down? Or is that something that hasn't applied to you?
Nah. Nah, I have always treated people with, friends who have been in my corner. I don't, not give them the time. I give them the exact same time that I gave them prior to even doing this. And that's really important to me. Not changing and not getting cocky and staying humble and giving people the time that want to ask questions about the industry. And it's, I'm no different to any other Tom, Dick, or Harry. Yes, I've got the following, and you get a bit of notice with that, but everyone deserves the time of day. And they're curious. And when people say, like, I don't know if it happens often, but like if someone asks someone for a photo and that person who's known goes, "Nah, sorry, mate," it's like, hang on, they've been supporting you. At least you can give them the time of day. And that's always been massive for me. I always ask for their name, and sometimes, like, you might get a little question about the mental health sort of thing, and, I always say to them, "Please just go see someone or just talk to people, talk to your family because, you're worth having here." And, if I can give them that time of day, then it's so rewarding for me. So I've never changed who I am, and I don't plan on it.
Are you okay if we speak about your mental health journey?
Yeah, we can do that for sure.
Yeah, delve me into it, because I've seen some clips online of your Instagram and your TikTok of you speaking about your personal struggles. How did that kind of come about, and how have you navigated through it so that someone listening to this can sort of, if they see themselves in a similar sort of position, how they can sort of get help and navigate through that?
Yeah. So the journey was pretty difficult, to be honest. I had pretty negative thoughts. So OCD, which maybe you saw that video, that was intrusive thoughts. So you get sort of nasty thoughts that just pop into your head and you latch onto them. A lot of people, everyone gets that nasty thought of, what if you're holding a knife, you're like, I just stab someone. And then they forget about it. For me, I'd latch onto it and I'd sort of freak out. And it was really nasty because thoughts did get quite nasty. And I remember mum was just my person. She'd sort of been through the same thing. But when she was younger, she couldn't really open up about it because how grandparents are. She couldn't really open up to her parents. So she was so understanding. And, when I told mum, maybe an intrusive thought that I had. It was the scariest thing on earth because you kind of think, I'm meant to be put in a hospital for mental health, and you realize that there's nothing but love, and mum was just so supportive and made me not feel alone. As I said, she sort of has been through the same thing, and it's just the weight that comes off your shoulder. Like I actually can't explain it. And, people that worry about opening up and, you can't open up because you're a male, like 2025. It's like, just do it because it is honestly the weight that comes off your shoulders. I cannot like put enough emphasis on that. It's amazing. And you learn that you're not alone. You're not crazy. Your mind plays tricks on you. It's an incredible thing that we have the mind, and it's a blessing and a curse, but just opening up is just the most powerful thing you can do because then you can get on with your day and you just feel so much better.
Mental health right now is such a large thing, and like you said, back in when your mum was growing up, the education wasn't there. So sometimes you just thought someone was a little bit of a lunatic at times. Now it's really great to see so many different organizations and different people advocating for it. And I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I was recently diagnosed with a part of anxiety and things like that, and I've had a real battle with that myself. But you're exactly right. It's having that support system there. My parents have been amazing. All of my friends, everyone around me has been incredibly amazing and understanding. So I think to anyone listening who's kind of struggling with similar sort of things is reach out to someone, have a conversation. If it's not someone close to you, reach out to, some sort of organization, or there's a lot of anonymous online resources as well to reach out to.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, and sorry to hear that you've been diagnosed with that. It sucks, but you learn that so many people around you are going through the exact same thing. And
Yeah.
I hope you're doing okay, and I hope you got the support that you need because uh, it's tough. But where there's a will, there's a way, and you get through it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Look, Joey, what's next for you? Where do you see your creative journey going with the acting, with the TikToks, with the social media? What do you see you going into next?
Mate, I'm locked in. I had a really, really good year in 2025. One of my sayings at the moment is I'm not where I want to be right now, but I'm where I wanted to be last year. And that's just like I started the acting journey, I got work, and this year it's just leveling up, you know. Um, Hang out with people, surrounding yourself with people that somewhat a level above you, because then you can work with them and you learn from them. I never really think it's beneficial. This is probably not the best thing to say, but I don't suggest people hanging out with people who's a level below you, because and in terms of this industry, you're not actually growing. You need to grow by the people who are above you and the people you look up to. And so this year, that's I wrote in my goals that that's what I want to do. I want to hang out with people that are above me. Matthew McConaughey, you got to have someone to chase. Greatest
Yeah.
Oscar speech, and that's what I'll do. So this year's just for me. It's continuing to try book work, and as I said, I signed with a really top tier agent at the end of last year through the connection with Paddy, and I I'm just ready to head down, and just lock in. Ideally, a nice little series regular would be good, but just keep working on my craft and trying to be the best that I can be.
I think to go back to what you just said about surrounding yourself with higher achieving people, I don't think that we mean, cutting off your mates that have been there for you, but more so
Not at all.
putting yourself in situations that are challenging to you. And in those sort of scenarios and situations, you are surrounded by people that are better than you and challenge you and bring you up to a higher level.
Yeah, and that's right. It's not cutting them off, but it's just trying, if you're serious about wanting to do well in the field you do well, you've gotta have someone to look up to and to learn off and to grow. And then, you go from here to here and you just keep growing.
100%, man. Joey, you've been absolutely amazing. Like I said before the show, I'm a big fan of your content and everything you're doing. Like I'm genuinely, I was a little bit nervous at the beginning of this conversation, but you're a great guy. I'm super excited for what you're
Don't be.
about to sort of go into, and I do mean that. Where can people find you?
On the Instagram, it's joey.woodley2, and I think my TikTok is Joey Woodley, I think.
Yeah, that means you're doing pretty well when you don't even know what your social handles are, but you're blowing up.
Yeah, my OnlyFans link in bio, that's a joke. Shocking joke too.
No, it's all right. I'll link that. I know the
Yeah, link that,
yeah,
link
yeah.
that. No, it's been great, and, I'm keen to see what you do, and, as you said, you've been diagnosed with some anxiety, so reach out whenever you need, mate.
Beautiful, man. Thank you.